Friendship. What a very rare and beautiful thing friendship is, after all. And how unpredictable are its beginnings. Not least, perhaps, among the joys that humanize the scholar's life are the personal relationships that spring up in, as it were, the suburbs of his work. Our relationship with Miss Hilda Tablet, the distinguished composeress, was one such. We were working at the time on our, alas, still uncompleted, critical biography of Richard Shewin, the late novelist. It came to us as something of a surprise that Shewin and Miss Tablet had actually known each other. We might indeed have remained quite ignorant of this important fact had it not been for a chance remark dropped one afternoon by the great novelist's brother, Mr. Stephen Shewin.
Hilda Tablet, the name was?
Hilda Tablet?
Yes, the lady music writer.
Oh, I had no idea you meant her.
You knew about her and my brother Richard?
No, I didn't even know they knew each other.
Oh.
Perhaps
He said he wanted to marry her. He swore it. Some didn't believe him, some did. He didn't always tell lies. Not that I ever liked her. A most unsavory woman, Mr. Reeve. I am not surprised that she has remained a spinster.
Yes, I knew, of course, that she was unmarried.
Yes. Her daughter is said to be a very nice girl, however.
Her daughter?
I, of course, have no views on who the hapless girl's father is likely to have been.
But Mr. Shewin, are you suggesting that your brother, Richard, is the...
And what else have you been doing to further your researches, Mr. Reeve?
Please let me ask one question about Miss Tablet.
It is a change to meet anybody so interested in the past as you are, Mr. Reeve.
It was but a few days later, after an exchange of letters, that we made our way to Miss Tablet's house in Coptic Street. With her public fame we were, as who is not, well acquainted already. We had in fact heard a repeat performance of her 3 fragments from Knossos only a few nights before on the ever admirable third program, and had enjoyed it very, very much. We had long looked forward to the British premiere of her original and distinguished opera, Emily Butter. We were indeed bold enough to sense that music, ever our second love, might prove a bond between ourselves and Miss Tablet. Little did we divine, however, as we rang at the door of 109 Coptic Street, how momentous this occasion was to be.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
You Herbert Reeve?
Yes?
Thought you were. Come in. My mistress is expecting you.
Your miss...
Old Hilda. I always call her my mistress. Makes her roar with laughter.
Yes.
I'm Evelyn.
Indeed?
Old Hilda's secretary. Jolly good, too. Just going out shopping.
Yes.
Got to match some material.
Is there someone at the door, Evelyn?
Hope you'll be here when I get back.
I hope so.
Oh, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
This is the mad woman of Chaillot, Mr. Reeve.
You go on with you.
So you be careful.
Evelyn, will you go about your business?
Goodbye. I'm on my way.
I'm so sorry. But one has to remember the poor lad has no father.
Oh, yes, I see, yes.
You'll find this house a very strange one, I'm afraid.
Really?
Well, just listen. They've been hard at it since 11 this morning.
At it?
They're rehearsing. They're rehearsing for Miss Tablet's next concert.
Oh, yes.
I get used to it, of course. I hardly notice it, except, of course, the quiet bits.
No, I suppose not. Perhaps I ought to wait then till...
No, this could go on for hours.
Miss Tablet did say 4 o'clock.
Yes, I'll shout and tell her you're here.
Oh, perhaps...
Oh, she won't mind. Why should she?
Look, I can wait.
Come in. Excuse a moment. Do sit down. She's just getting it right. Must go on for just a sec. Now. Entirely covered with skeletons. Good, lovely. And he took it for a battlefield. Oh, Elsa, damn it, for heaven's sake, please.
I cannot help.
Of course you can help, you silly little Dotty. I've told you 100 times. Throw your voice at the note by all means, but for God's sake remember to miss it.
Shall I make some tea and toast?
Yes, make some tea and toast. It's all you're good for. Welcome, Mr. Reeve.
Thank you.
Have a cigarette?
I do hope I haven't come too early. You did say 4.
Perfectly okay. Sorry about Elsa. Been rehearsing all afternoon. New piece of mine. Like what you heard of it?
Oh, very much, yes.
You wanted to talk about Dick Shewin.
Yes, if...
Sure. Elsa, don't bring the tea in till I shout. Nice girl. Mad, of course. Like her?
Yes, I think...
Oh, she's all right. Good voice, too.
She's your daughter, I suppose.
My what?
Your daughter.
Oh, that's a good one. I give you 9 marks for that. She's been taken from my niece by a few nice-minded people, but that's a new one on me. well.
I'm very sorry if I...
Don't give it a thought. I'm glad you're writing a book about old Dick Shewin. I knew him for years. We were kids together in the country, as I expect you know.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yes, he was always coming over to Tutting.
Tutting?
My people's place in Malted. You know all about him and me, of course.
Not...
Well, I mean, you know what he did with me. I'm Madeline, in the head and the heart.
I didn't know. No, Miss Tablet.
Oh, I never minded. I didn't really give him the push as hard as all that, of course. Still, he did come rather a smacker over it, poor devil. Poor old Dick. Good book, I thought.
Oh, very.
Listen, Mr. Beat. I'll tell you something about Dick Shewin I've never told anybody. Richard Shewin is the only man, alive or dead, who can ever have been said to have interfered with my basic tone roll. Look, Mr. Beat, can you turn over?
Turn over?
Music. There's a piece of mine I always associate with old Dick Shewin. I'll play it for you, so help me. Here it is. Damn it, I'll play it. I expect you'll find my writing a bit hard to follow, but just turn the page over every time I shout out, now, will you?
Certainly, yes.
Good. Ready?
Yes.
Right. Now.
Sorry.
Now.
Sorry.
Now. Say, what the hell's happened?
I'm so sorry. Have I...
You turned over 2 pages at once, old cock. We're slap in the middle of the slow movement. You wouldn't be much good at the Royal so-called Festival Hall now, would you? Never mind.
Hilda, the tea and toast are getting to be so cold.
Sorry, old girl. Bring 'em in. Have some tea, Mr. Beat. You deserve it.
Thank you very much.
And the sooner the tea's out of the way, the sooner we can get out the gin, eh?
Oh, quite.
Cake? Toast? Honey, jam?
Oh, thank you. A toast, please.
Who put you on to me, Mr. Beat?
Put me...
Who sent you round?
For that I'm indebted to my good friend, Mr. Stephen Shewin.
What? Dick's brother?
Yes.
You do choose peculiar friends, don't? Good Lord. Look here, Mr. Reeve. Was it old Steve Shewin who tried to make out that Elsa was my daughter?
Daughter?
Well, he didn't exactly say...
Don't tell me. I can imagine. The nasty old skunk.
But you have always been like a sort of mother to me, Hilda.
You shut up.
I shall go back to Austria.
All right, do. Go back to Austria. You'll find the fare in the housekeeping money. Oh, God. And people expect one to create. Oh, sorry, Mr. Blake. You touched me on the raw.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I have to make it clear that Stephen Shewin, Esquire, and my humble self are not friends. I've never forgiven him for what he did at Dick's funeral.
What was that?
He chose the music. And will you kindly stop those revolting ski, Elsa?
Yes. Shall I take away the tea tray?
Kindly do. Get out the gin. Yes. He chose the music.
And you thought it...
The occasion was a calculated insult. It had been an understood thing for years that when poor Dick passed on, they should play my little dirge, written ages before. A little piece called Funeral Baked Meats for 2 flutes, harmonium and tam-tam. Oh, just a simple little elegiac sort of little piece, you know. Poor Dick was very fond of it, very fond. He said to me, "You'll play that piece over my dead body one of these days, Hilda," he said. So, of course, I took it as fixed. But, oh, no. In marches Mr. Stephen Blasted Shewin and orders the music for the funeral himself. And do you know who every damn note was by?
Well, I don't think I quite recall.
Lobby Ludwig.
Lobby Ludwig?
Yes, help me.
But who is Lobby Ludwig, Miss Tablet?
Where were you at school, Mr. Beat?
Well, the first 4 years, I went to...
Mr. Beat, have you never by any chance heard tell of one Ludwig van Beethoven?
Oh, yes.
Think of poor old Dick Shewin, a good, clean living man, inserted into his final resting place to the strains of the Fifth Symphony. Ba-ba-ba-boom, ba-ba-ba-boom. Elsa! Mr. Reeve, we in this world can have little conception of what difficulties that may have landed poor Dick Shewin in on the other side.
Oh, dear.
Have some gin.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I have yet to settle my score with Mr. Stephen Shewin. And what is more, Mr. Reeve, the nasty old scavenger tried to make a pass at me the minute the funeral was over.
A pass?
Yes, in the vestry. Pretended he was trying to straighten my tie for me.
Oh.
Never seen him since.
Very few of our meetings with Miss Tablet were destined to be short ones. This first one was no exception. It was only when we came to say goodbye that we realized that Miss Tablet had kindly accorded us some 9.5 hours of her illuminating company. With the liberality characteristic of the creative artist the world over, she dispensed tirelessly the flowing bowl.
You like music, don't you, Herbert Reeve?
Indeed, yes. It's ever been my second love.
Never been what?
Ever my second love.
Really? It was my fourth, as a matter of fact. In fact, Herbert Reeve, I'll tell you a secret about me and music.
Yes?
I played hard to get. Oh, yes. I never fell for music like some so-called composers I could name. No.
No?
No, it fell for me. I was flirting with architecture at the time. I've always been mad about architecture. Well, I don't have to say it. You can tell it from the structure of Butter.
Butter?
Emily Butter. My opera.
Oh.
Say what you will. It's pretty soundly architected. I believe in architectonic in music. There's nothing like it. It's the first thing you have to learn. I learned it years ago, you know. First time I ever realized Purcell.
The first time we ever realized what, Hilda?
Purcell. Oh, yes, Herbert. I realized a lot of Purcell in my early days.
Sorry, Hilda, but realized he was what?
What was what?
You said you realized Purcell.
Of course I did. Everybody knows that. I realized a lot of Palestrina, too, if it comes to that.
Yes. Well, of course, we all have to realize such things when the time comes, I suppose.
Structure. That's the ticket. Structure, my dear old friend. Structure.
This great encounter had left us with much to think of, much to be grateful for, and much to puzzle over also. For it was clearly not, as yet, quite possible completely to reconcile Miss Tablet's views about the girl Elsa with those of Mr. Stephen Shewin. Still, the days to come might solve their problem. Miss Tablet, with the easygoing generosity of the creative artist the world over, had invited us to call again. That was indeed our firm intention, but in the event, we did not have to make this intrusion ourselves. A very short time after, early one morning, we were engaged in sorting our data when the telephone rang. Hello?
Hello.
Who's that?
It's Evelyn.
Oh, good morning.
Hello.
Did you want something?
It's old Hilda. She wants to speak to you. Asked me to ring you. She'll be here in a minute.
Oh, yes, thank you. I'll hold on.
What are you wearing today, Mr. Reeve?
What? Oh, just an ordinary dark suit.
Jolly pretty, I bet.
I've
got my blue jeans on. Hello, is that you, Bertie? Goodbye.
Goodbye. This is Herbert Reeve speaking.
That's right, this is Hilda here.
Oh, good morning. How are you?
Okay, Tar. Look, Bertie, What have you got on this morning?
Oh, just an ordinary dark suit.
Oh, don't ask about Bertie. What are you doing at the moment?
Well, I'm sorting my data.
Doing what?
Arranging my information.
Well, look, old boy. I need your help pretty drastically. Can you come round?
Oh, yes, of course.
Straight away?
Yes.
Good. See you then. Goodbye.
Needless to say, we hastened round to Coptic Street as quickly as a taxi could take us. We were received by Elsa, who was alone in the music room. A little treacherously, perhaps, we seized the moment to try to bring the conversation round to...
Yes, it is very nice weather this morning. But you do not always have such nice weather in England, I find. In Vienna,
I suppose you often return to Vienna, Miss Strauss?
Not so often as I try to.
I expect you have your relations in Vienna.
And very good calves liver also.
Bertie, is that you, Bertie?
Yes, it's I.
Come on in.
Where is Hilda?
She's taking her bath.
Oh, well, I'll wait here, shall I? Till she...
Bertie!
Yes, I won't.
This is the way, please.
But, well, wouldn't it be better if I...
Come in, Bertie. Excuse the old bod. Don't mind, do you? C'est son façon chez nous. Do sit down.
Thank you.
No, not on that. Unless, of course, you preferred it. There's a stool just there.
Oh, good morning, Hilda.
Good morning. Now, look. I want your help desperately. Have you ever heard of a couple of chaps called Faber and Faber?
Oh, of course, I...
Good, right. Well, they're after my life.
After your life, Hilda? Good God.
Well, don't be so ruddy surprised, old boy. Damn it. Several publishers have asked for it. It's been quite an interesting life.
Oh, I see you. You mean they...
Exactly. Well, of course, as you can well imagine, the written word is not my medium. The money means nothing to me. I've got plenty. Sorry, both, but I have. Now, I'm going to ask you, Bertie, as an old pal, to let me put myself entirely in your hands. Just chuck us that large towel marked HT, will you?
Yeah, right.
Thanks.
But, Hilda, I do...
Now, it'll need a goodish bit of research, but of course you're used to that. And the book itself need only be about 350 pages.
Yes, but I don't think
The advantage is you'll easily be able to fit it in with your life of old Dick Shewin. After all, our lives cross a hell of a lot. Kids together in the country. Intimate pals in later life and all that sort of collioni. I should say you make a damn good job of it.
Hilda, I'm sure that...
It won't take long. Mustn't, in fact. They want it for when my opera Emily Butter goes on at Covent Garden, and that's next autumn.
My dear Hilda, I assure you it's all the sort of thing I should be good at. I know that.
Now, Herbert, no false modesty, please.
It's not...
I hate that. Mind you, I don't want to rush you into anything, but, Bertie, just provisionally, I want to ask you not to say no straight off. I can't bear being snubbed.
No.
You won't, will you, Bertie?
Won't what?
Won't just snub me.
No, of course not.
Thank you, Bertie. I like you for saying that. Now, will you, whatever happens, just open the airing cupboard and reach me out a nice clean shirt? And then go into the music room and Elsa will pour you out a nice large whiskey and soda.
Yes, I could do that. Thank you.
And Evelyn will show you my diaries. He has them ready. They should prove invaluable to you. Elsa!
Coming!
Hello. Know what you've come for?
Hilda said I might look at her diaries.
Here they are. You'll find the best bits in September and October each year.
Oh, really?
She always goes to Morocco in September and October. Shall I find you some good bits?
Well, I think perhaps I'd better find those as I come to them, huh?
Which you will do.
Cautiously, we opened the first volume to hand. 1951. How very expressive of personality the human handwriting always is.
April the 6th. Began violin and piano sonata. April the 7th, bogged down in violin and piano sonata. April the 8th, finished violin and piano sonata, sent it off to the Menuhins. Revised concerto for oboe and strings, took shoes to be mended, and sketched out settings for first 8 cantos of the Inferno. April the 9th, after much thought, have decided to scrap Inferno and use same sketches for setting Swan's Way. April the 10th began to rehearse Swan's Way with Elsa. April the 11th fetched Elsa back from London Airport. April the 12th fetched Elsa back from London Airport. April the 13th fetched Elsa back from London Airport. April the 14th fetched Elsa back from Northolt.
She's jolly clever, young Elsa, but not half so clever as old Hilda.
Don't lean on my shoulder, Evelyn. That's a good chap.
Ticklish?
I knew you'd be hard at it already. Once a scholar, always a scholar, eh?
You know, Hilda, I still don't think I'm the right person.
I've been wondering about the question of title. That's always important.
Yes. Well, you could always call it simply The Life of Hilda Tablet.
I'd rather suggest I'm dead. I wonder if a general sort of title might be as well.
Yes, so we might call it Woman Composer, or just Composeress.
See what you get.
How about Aspects of Hilda Tablet?
That suggests I'm monumental. And it's my music that's monumental, really, not me. What about the private life of Hilda Tablet?
A little sensational, perhaps?
You think so?
I do, rather.
Right, then we'll call it that. Good. Gives a sort of shape to the thing. It needs that. It must be soundly architected. I may be able to help a bit there. I'm not going to influence you at all, as you know.
Yes.
You just say what you choose. Naturally, it'll be best if I vet the thing a bit afterwards, just in case anything has slipped in which, well, I wouldn't like there to be anything in it that might, well, throw a spanner into what to me is a very dear friendship, Bertie.
Yes, no.
But of course, you must say exactly what you choose. Be absolutely objective. I hate subjectivity. No one can say that anything I've ever written has been subjective. Listen to this. No ruddy fear.
No.
Now, of course, you'll want to go round and see a few people who really know me and know about me. You might start with Harold Reeve.
Harold Reeve?
Yes, he's done the libretto for Emily Butter, my opera. You'll find him easy to get on with. A good sort, Harold, and so tremendously loyal. Tremendously loyal, Harold Reeve.
But you see, the whole trouble with Emily Butter is that you can't hear a bloody word anybody sings. I said so to Hilda.
And what did she say, Mr. Reeve?
She said all librettists say that. She seemed to think that disposed of the matter. She added most of them ought to be jolly thankful.
Oh, I'm sure she wasn't referring to you.
Yes, she was. Including you, she said.
Oh, dear.
You see, this opera doesn't seem to be part of me at all. You can't imagine I wanted the thing to be an all-woman opera, can you? No men at all in it. The part I hoped Jussi Björling would sing is being sung by a perishing mezzo-soprano.
Oh,
Hilda smashed the whole thing about. The original idea was that it should take place in the 16th century on a boat anchored off Rimini. It's Hilda who's altered it all into a mutiny in the bargain basement of a drapery store. And all those passages on film.
But, Mr. Reeve, all the reviews on the continent say that the passages on film are most effective.
Yes, but they're all on silent film. Silent! What the hell am I there for?
Tremendously loyal, old Harold. And after that, you ought to go and see old Bunny.
Bunny?
R. Egerton Bunningfield, A.R.A. He painted a damn good portrait of me in 1943.
Well, yes, the picture has been much admired. It was meant to be one of a series of great women of the time. Their part in the war effort, don't you know? I wanted her to be playing an instrument, of course, but what I had in mind was a clavichord or the like, with highlights on a brocade dress and so on. I never imagined that she would insist on the instrument being a bugle, though I agree it was appropriate to a picture illustrating the war effort and that. And she also insisted on it being an open-air composition. That's the whole of the Pennine Range in the background. And quite frankly, Mr. Reeve, she's the kind of figure I really would have preferred to have painted draped. No, she insisted.
Agreeable, I always found old Bunny. Receptive to ideas.
Yes.
And then there are my colleagues in the world of music. I advise caution with those. There's such a thing as jealousy, God help us. Even in the creative arts, Bertie.
Alas, yes, I fear so.
Still, go and see old Roger Cloud. He's one of the best. He may insist on playing his own frightful compositions to you, but his heart is in the right place. I've known Roger since my so-called student days.
Yes, yes. I've known Tabby since we were students together. A nice woman, frightfully nice. Awfully good at a party. Good-natured, too, generous. It's such a pity.
About what, Mr. Cloud?
Well, it's ruined her life, of course. A tragedy, really.
Ruined her life, Mr. Cloud? What has?
Oh, her music. She's a dear, good-hearted girl, awfully good fun at a party, but she insists on regarding herself as a sort of superior Schoenberg.
Oh.
Pity. And one had such very high hopes of her. With a few years of trouble, patience, and effort, she might easily have been the Chaminade of our day, you know.
Oh, indeed.
Just as I might be described, and in fact have been described as the César Franck of our day. No, I don't want you to think I mean all that anyone else means by that, a pastiche César Franck, Mr. Reeve.
Oh, no.
But I'm sure you know my chorale and chorale for piano, Mr. Reeve.
Grade A is old Roger Cloud. As a chap, I mean. You'll like him. But finally, the real person to go and see is Betty Barbara.
Is that the Duchess of Malset?
Little Betty, yes, a sweetie pie. And Jack's all right, too.
The Duke?
Sure. Betty's a musical woman herself. Plays Vivaldi quite exquisitely. She's music critic of Vogue, as you probably know. I'd say Betty knows more about me than any woman alive.
Yes. I've known Hilda well for a good 10 years, haven't I, Jack, dear?
Easily, my dear.
And yet you know, Mr. Reeve, I've never known her at all.
Oh.
One never really knows a genius.
I think my wife makes rather a good point there.
But I rather hoped... Hilda said that...
Oh, one wonders, of course. One is bound to wonder.
Yes?
The rather despicable part of one is bound to wonder.
To wonder?
Oh, the usual things one hears. Of course one wonders. One wonders exactly the same things about Emily Bronte. And
yes.
wonders quite as ineffectually, Sir Herbert.
No, it's just Mr.
I think my wife makes a very good point there.
What can these things matter? The thing about Tablet is her radiant genius, her newness, her impact. Hilda is one of the great innovators, Sir Herbert, as Frescobaldi was.
Yes, of course, the idea of an all-woman opera.
Oh, that's only a tiny, infinitesimal part of it all. She must have talked to you of her larger aims.
Well, a few of them, perhaps.
She's spoken to you about the castrati.
Castrati?
Of course, we've all dreamed of reviving the castrati, but it's needed Hilda to take the first practical steps towards making them a reality.
Practical steps?
Yes, thank God. She's drawn up a list of well-known singers who she thinks would benefit from treatment. Some of them have been singing baritone or even bass for years, but it's only a question of getting them to agree. There may be difficulties. Singers are very conservative, as you know. But I'm sure that in the end, the truth will prevail.
Yes, one hopes so.
But what are ideas compared with the music itself? Oh, you know the score of Emily Butter backwards, I'm sure, Sir Herbert.
Well, only the parts that are played backwards, of course.
Emily Butter embraces the whole of music. Lord Reeve.
Yes, I suppose so.
Yes, I think my wife makes a very good point there.
Somehow, it had not been easy or convenient, one is so reticent, to divulge to Mr. Stephen Shewin that we had for a time set aside our biography of his brother for a more transient task. He had accompanied us to Malset on a most profitable and engaging visit to the family of his other brother, the late Edward Shewin. We had returned, and still the private life of Miss Tablet was unmentioned. It might indeed have remained unmentioned had it not been for a question put to us by Mrs. Stephen Shewin on the first occasion we partook of afternoon tea together after our return to London.
And how are you getting on with your book about poor Richard, Mr. Reeve?
Well, I do a little from time to time, of course.
So kind of you. No, Pussy?
Only a little, Mr. Reeve. I was under the impression it was a morbid obsession with you.
Oh, not quite that.
Oh, indeed.
And the bright Pussy never has morbid obsessions, does a Pussy?
What other tasks employ your leisure, Mr. Reeve?
Well, it's rather odd you should mention it, but Miss Hilda Tablet has asked me to...
To what, Mr. Reeve? To an orgy?
Oh, no.
Stephen!
To what, Mr. Reeve?
She's asked me to write her biography.
Then I suppose you are seeing a good deal of Miss Tablet, Mr. Reeve.
Oh, well...
Tell me of her. It must be a peculiar household. I suppose, in a sense, the woman's devotion to her offspring must be admired.
Really, I have no wish to contradict you, Mr. Shewin, but...
I'm quite used to being contradicted, Mr. Reeve. You were saying?
Pussy was saying.
You were saying, Mr. Reeve?
Well,
I hope you hadn't been listening to malicious gossip about my brother Richard, Mr. Reeve. Wicked as his life was.
Stephen.
Wicked as his life was, one must always aim at accuracy. And my brother was often the target for much cruel gossip. That he laid himself open to it, none will deny, but there is moderation in all things. That he was the father of the boy Evelyn, I, for one, have never believed.
Evelyn?
I have never believed it, Mr. Reeve. Whatever you may say, you will never persuade me of it.
Have you ever been to Finland, Mr. Reeve?
No, never. Mr. Shewin, I never for a moment entertained even the idea that Richard Shewin was Evelyn's father.
You relieve my mind, Mr. Reeve.
Or that Hilda Tablet was Evelyn's mother.
Ah.
The idea seems to me unthinkable.
Unthinkable, Mr. Reeve?
But Evelyn's mother is a widow.
Oh, Muffy's a widow, aren't you, Muffy?
Evelyn's mother, Mrs. Baxter, lives at Richmond. He has several times pressed me to go and visit them.
Oh, do go, Mr. Reeve. It's so charming, especially at this time of the year. I wonder which bus is the best.
Richmond, Mr. Reeve?
Yes, Richmond.
Richmond. Mr. Reeve, have you never heard of such a thing as baby farming?
Stephen. Muffy.
No one will deny that tact is required in writing the biography of a living subject. But one cardinal advantage the biographer whose subject is still happily with him most certainly has. Difficult points, obscurities of chronology or of personal relationships can always be cleared up by direct questioning. Provided, of course, that there is complete frankness between author and subject, and provided the subject has a clear, logical mind. And what creative artist the world over has, when we really look into it, not.
Where are the kids?
Evelyn and Elsa, in the next room, I think.
Good. Look, Herbert, I'm not a girl who's easily offended. And if it was simply myself, I wouldn't give a damn.
A damn?
I know it's easy to philander. I never do myself, as it happens, but then the creative artist never does. And I do know, of course, Bertie, that you're a very complicated sort of person.
Oh, Hilda, I really don't think so.
And tremendously clever. I say that without hesitation.
No,
But look, old cock, will you answer me a straight question?
Well, of course, Hilda, if I can.
Well, then. Look, Bertie, which of them is it you're after?
After?
Yes. Which?
Which of what?
Elsa or Evelyn? Which?
But Hilda!
Yes?
I'm very fond of both of them, but...
Both of them?
Really, Hilda, I'm not after either of them. Really, I can't think whatever I can possibly...
You sure?
Hilda, you can have no reason at all for even dreaming of such a thing.
Dreaming?
Yes.
Odd you should use that word. Very odd. Bertie, last night I had a dream, a very vivid one. That's why I've had to speak to you like I have. I dreamed you'd been gossiping, Bertie. I didn't like that, you know.
But...
Please let me finish. I dreamed you'd been going around saying to people that Elsa was Evelyn's mistress. Really, Bertie.
But Hilda, you say you only dreamed this.
Only? Bertie, have you never read what Dr. Freud says about dreams?
A little, perhaps.
And Shakespeare, too, for that matter? But this denoted a foregone conclusion. 'Twas mine, 'tis his. They come not single spies, but monstrous regiments.
Hilda, I must protest.
It's no good protesting, Bertie. I know a good deal about psychology. I've always had a strong grasp of it. Why, when Dr. Joachim Pfeffer was analyzing me, He said it was much simpler if he lay on the sofa and did the talking, and I just sat behind him and interpreted. It made a new man of him, he said. So you see, that dream can only have meant you had a strong primary fixation on one of the objects you were accusing of whoredom.
Hilda, my dear. Oh, my God.
Exactly. Still, Bertie, once these things are brought up into the conscious levels of the mind, they often vanish quite simply. That's why I thought I'd better have it out with you. You see, I naturally feel a bit responsible for Elsa and Evelyn.
Of course.
I'm not a sentimental woman, I hope. But sometimes, well, I almost feel like a mother to them.
Hilda?
Yes, Bertie?
I'd like to ask you a question I've never asked you directly before.
Of course, Bertie. What is it?
Hilda, do you think I could have a rather large glass of whiskey without anything in it at all?
Of course, Bertie. It's over there. Bring me one, too. What I've said brings me to something else, Bertie.
Something else, Hilda?
Yeah. Bertie, am I the first composer you've ever known?
Well, certainly you were the first, Hilda.
You mean there have been others in your life since?
Well, only an embryo one.
Who?
I thought you probably knew. Richard Shewin's nephew is a composer. Owen Shewin. I met him in the country a week or so ago. He played me some of his own compositions.
Any good?
I thought they were full of feeling. I was greatly hoping to bring you two together.
Extraordinary, isn't it?
What is, Hilda?
The way the whole ruddy thing all fits together.
I don't quite understand.
Listen, Bertie. I told you there was something else I wanted to say. Now, I don't want you to be offended by it.
Oh, no, Hilda.
What I feel I must say is this. It's jolly kind of you to have offered to write this book about me, and I appreciate it very greatly.
Thank you.
But please don't mind my saying this. I really don't think that the complex problems of a mature woman's mind are quite exactly your ticket. There, Bertie, dear. I've said it. I think it had to be said.
Do you mean, Hilda, that I needn't...
You won't be upset?
No, Hilda, I won't be upset.
I like you for saying that. Thank you, Bertie. What, therefore, I propose we do is drop the idea of the private life of Hilda Tablet. And instead, I'm going to let you concentrate for the present on a separate preliminary volume called The Early Life of Hilda T., devoted solely to my youth, my childhood and whatnot.
Oh.
The original work we planned we can easily return to after you finish the early life. The good thing is, it will take us all down to the country. We all need a bit of fresh air, and in dear old Mulset, you'll be able to work on me in peace and quiet. And I can meet this young man, Owen Shewin, you think so highly of. It all fits in, doesn't it? Almost a touch of divine providence about it, when you think. So what I suggest is we all go down to Tutting next week, okay?
Oh, okay, Hilda. Mulset. How permanent and certain and unchanging are the moods and emotions of that lovely county. Tutting, the Elizabethan home of the Tablets, to an English eye seemed even fairer than Throbbing, the Palladian home of the Shewins some 20 miles southwest. On our first afternoon there, we were conducted round the little nearby church of Mull Extrinsica by Mr. Bellingham, the rector. Hilda had left us alone with him that we might collect impressions. Pump him, she had said, in her simple, unaffected way.
Oh, yes, dear Miss Tablet. Yes, we're proud of her. Yes, very proud of Hilda, we are.
Yes, I'm sure.
Very proud of Hilda. She's done so much for us, you know. The organ, you know. She mended it herself for us. Very clever, that, you know.
Yes, indeed.
Clever, I thought. Clever girl. And all those hymn books. Gave us all those, you know. Very useful. You never know when they might come in handy. Thoughtful gift. Oh, yes. That's the tomb of her great ancestor in Richard II's time. Sir Tablet de Fitz Tablet. Yes, the family goes back a long way, you know. It goes back a long, long way.
Yes, of course, I knew that.
And it comes forward a long way as well. And that's the memorial tablet to Sir Willoughby Tablet. A big figure in the ARP round here. Hilda wrote an anthem for his funeral, you know. Oh, yes, she's written a lot of pieces for us. The choir find them a little bit difficult, but we rub along, you know, we rub along.
Yes, I expect
we rub along somehow. And that's the new altar screen she gave us. The subject's a bit unusual for a church, as you can see. Rather unusual. Artistic, of course, but rather unusual.
My word, yes, it is, rather.
Rather unusual for a church. And if you will step outside again for a minute, you can see the 2 new finials she gave us for the porch. There they are. Very generous, Hilda, devoted to good works.
Yes.
There they are, the finials, you know. Finials, fine finials.
There seems to be only one of them.
All the others there, lying there next to the tomb of Sir Howard Tablet. It fell off, you know, quite soon after they were put up. Of course, the rain has washed the blood off by now.
The blood?
Oh, yes, right off. Washed it right off. It fell on Mrs. Midgley.
Did it hurt her?
Oh, I think so, yes. Yes, I think it hurt her. I think it did.
Will it be put back?
Of course, Mrs. Midgley might be a little vexed, though it was rather unkind of her to suggest that Hilda actually pushed it onto her. I don't think there was anything of that, you know. You see, there'd hardly be room for Hilda up there, would there? Well, I suppose there might be.
Oh, I'm sure Hilda would never...
No, I don't think she would either. Not really, no. She's so fond of the old church, you know. She's promised us her feet.
Her feet?
Yes, it's my wife's idea.
I don't quite understand. Promised you her feet?
Oh, yes. She used to play the organ here when she was a girl, you know. Quite famous as an organist she was, locally.
But
She was very good on the pedals, they say. Diddle, 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 you know, up and down. And my wife thought we might one day perhaps have Hilda's feet in a casket.
You mean after?
Oh, yes. After, of course. Oh, yes. It would be quite simple, my wife says. Good sharp knife, good clean cut. It was very good of Hilda to agree, we thought, very good. Embalmed, we thought. Embalming would be a good idea.
But it was the fragments of Hilda's past, rather than those of her future, that concerned us at the moment. And I suppose, Mr. Cobb, that you will remember Hilda as quite a small girl.
Do?
I said, I suppose you will remember Hilda when she was quite a small girl.
Bey?
I said, I suppose you will remember Miss Hilda when she...
Miss Hilda. They were rare chickens, I remember when Miss Hilda would do for by in the evening be magna.
You mean she...
Aye.
You mean that when she was a girl...
Aye. Aye, 'twere.
I'm afraid I didn't quite catch it.
For do you see, sir? As 'twas real proper larraping is where to do. Once about the girt famous short horners a skip up in Mulberry Magna in the springtime for we it again. And us didn't allers know what to do being here, see, sir.
No, not quite, perhaps.
Aye, and biding we it too. Vicky.
You...
Proper bucking and batting.
The button?
No, twadding.
I wonder if you
And a strike to mizzle and putting be parrots. Us had no time for to bodging in. And us couldn't try for to battle, see. And 'twasn't no some use neither for Gert nor Smallbees to try doing. And Farmer he tried doing, and his brother-in-law he tried doing. Oh, Mr. Perkins be the parsonage, he wouldn't try doing. For he did say 'twere against their religion. But 'twasn't no some use. There only one of us could do it. And daze me if it weren't little Missy. For he must understand, sir, as Miss Hilda was always a bit of a tomboy.
How permanent, as we have said, how certain and unchanging seemed the emotions and moods of the place. On our first evening, as we sat at dinner with the Tablet family portraits looking down upon us, approvingly, as one liked to think, the 6 of us, Sir Eric and Lady Tablet, Hilda, Elsa, Evelyn, and ourself, seemed part of some richer, older, finer, more excellently rooted and permanent part of our national life. It was an occasion when all that is said seems of the best and finest.
That, Mr. Reeve, is the faith I was brought up in. It is the faith I shall die in. I believe it to be the only faith.
Yes, Lady Tablet.
And I am convinced that I shall see that faith triumph once more in the hearts of men. I am convinced that within 25 years from now, a Liberal candidate will be returned to Parliament in every constituency in the British Isles.
Yes,
If we can get proportional representation in the near future, the time may be shorter still.
Well said. I think that's very well said, my dear. Bravo, bravo. Jolly good. Bravo.
What we need above all is public support and financial backing, both of which are entirely lacking.
Oh, poetry.
Shut up, Evelyn.
Sorry.
And dear Mr. Reeve, you can imagine how proud we are to think that possibly after the very next election, you may be representing North Mulset in the House of Commons.
But, Lady Tablet, I'm in no way a political man, I'm afraid.
No, Mums, I'm bound to say I've never heard Bertie utter a word about politics.
Oh, but we're all politicians nowadays, Reeve.
I'm Labour.
Do be quiet, Evelyn. Yes, you are Labour, Mr. Baxter. You are also very young. And now perhaps we might go into the drawing room. Miss Strauss?
Oh, yes, it is a so pretty room. And what a good dinner we've had. Such a lot of food.
Hilda, dear, will you come with us, or do you want to stay in here? No, I want to try something out on the piano with Elsa. I'll come with you. And Mr. Baxter?
I'll come into the drawing room too, if I may, please. Because I don't smoke, and I don't drink, and I don't like rude stories. And I've left my sewing in the drawing room anyway.
Then let us go. Don't be too long, will you, Eric?
No, dear, just one glass.
Mr. Baxter, do you think I might call you Evelyn?
Oh, please.
Well, yes. Port?
Oh, thank you.
It's a bit embarrassing for you, all this, I know.
Embarrassing?
A bit embarrassing for me, too, you know.
Oh, I hope not, Sir Eric.
Well, it doesn't often happen after all, does it? Cigar?
Thank you.
And I'm very glad about it all, you know, Reeve.
Glad?
I don't mind telling you we were getting a bit worried at the thought of poor old Hilda being left on the shelf.
The shelf?
Well, I mean, that was what it was getting to look like, you know. Of course, it took her a damn long while to get over that swine Richard Shewin.
Swine, Sir Eric?
Oh, a rotter, pure and simple. You've heard of Richard Shewin, haven't you?
Oh, yes,
Well, of course, the blackguard simply ditched the poor gal. I'd like to have thrashed him. Still, the best thing was to let Hilda get over it. You were very young, of course. Has she mentioned it to you?
Yes, after a fashion.
Yes, well, I'm glad. She might easily not have. She's shy, you know. Hilda is very shy. A shy gal. Still, there it is. I'm very glad. Yes. I should like to shake you very sincerely by the hand.
Oh, yes, of course, sir, if you want.
Let me say that I hope that you and Hilda will both be very happy.
Happy, Sir Eric?
More marmalade, Miss Strauss?
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you so much. In London, we do not have such powerful breakfast.
Toast, Mr. Reeve.
No, thank you.
You look jolly pale, Mr. Reeve.
Do I, Evelyn? Yes, I suppose I do.
He looks jolly pale, doesn't he, Elsa?
Very pale. Almost white.
Too many late nights, I bet.
Oh, I just haven't been out of doors much lately.
Oh, you must hope the air of Mulset will restore your colour, Mr. Reeve.
I'm sure it will.
Bertie, have you finished breakfast?
Yes, Hilda, I have.
Then, if the others will excuse us, we'll take a turn round the garden.
Yes.
Come on. We'll go through the French windows.
A wonderful view from here, isn't it? A fine prospect.
Not bad. Look, Herbert, I've got to talk to you.
Yes?
It's difficult for me to say it, but there's one thing you ought to get clear. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I remember poor old Dick Shewin too well. But I must ask you to remember that I'm just not the marrying sort of girl, that's all.
Oh, no, Hilda. I mean, I had no intention of,
You sure?
Oh, quite.
Are you the marrying sort of man?
Well, of course, I'm always waiting for Miss Wright and so on.
Miss Wright? Who's she? You've never mentioned her before, have you?
Well, you know, there's a Miss Wright and a Miss Wrong, I suppose.
You're not promiscuous, I hope, Herbert.
No, please.
Oh, well, it's none of my business, though I'm bound to say I'm a bit surprised. But I just wanted you to be quite clear. You mustn't expect any funny business, so to speak, between you and me.
Please, Hilda, I never thought...
Good. So long as it's understood. Yeah. I don't mind the odd kiss, of course, now and then. But let's keep it just friends, shall we?
I hope we shall always be.
Good. Let's walk back to the house together.
Right.
You know, Bertie, I've been thinking about this volume you suggested on the early life of my humble self. You know, I don't think it'll work.
No, Hilda? You mean you think that...
I'm convinced it won't work. Not as it stands, that is. You see, Bertie, a creative artist's early years are almost the most important part of her life. What I think we ought to begin to consider is planning out the early life in 2 volumes, not 1. And I'm more and more convinced that the first of these ought really to contain a consideration of my prenatal existence, which is always very important.
But, Hilda,
my mother ought to be able to help you a good deal with that. It means approaching the old darling rather carefully, but I feel sure you can do it. Try it this afternoon.
But, Hilda, we were going to the Shewins this afternoon.
Were we? What for?
I promised Ern that you would hear some of his music.
Oh, damn.
Well, I'm very anxious to bring you together. 2 generations of composers. I thought it might be very interesting.
What?
2 generations, I thought.
Odd you should say that.
Why, Hilda? Did you say anything, Hilda?
No, I was just thinking. I'll tell you later. Yes, of course we'll go. Get Evelyn to ring 'em up and say we'll be there for tea. Only we must shoot off straight after, don't forget. We must be at Perivale by 8.
Perivale, Hilda? What is Perivale?
My dear Bertie, I sometimes wonder if your memory is fading. Why do you suppose I'm wearing this appalling tie?
Well, I don't know, Hilda.
It's me old school tie. I told you weeks ago I promised to go and address the senior girls this evening after supper. You'll find it pretty helpful, too, seeing the old school. It'll help with the atmosphere for Volume 2. Pity we have to go to the Shewins first. Still, that may come in useful, too, you know. Never know.
So very kind of you to come. This is my son, Owen.
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do?
Hello. My son, Brian. So good of you.
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do? Hello. So very good of you. My son, George.
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do? Hello. How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do?
So very kind of you to come all this way to hear Owen's music, Miss Tablet.
A pleasure. Let's hope.
A little professional encouragement means so much.
Really it does, yes.
And it's so good of you, Mr. Reeve, to bring Miss Tablet. And so good of you to do so much about the boys' lyrics.
Yes, it was jolly kind of you to show our lyrics to the literary editor of the Listener, Mr. Reeve.
Yes, he hasn't actually printed any of them yet, but he says we can send him anything we write.
So, of course, we do. We sent him 30 last week.
I'm sorry my daughter Janet isn't here to meet you, Miss Tablet.
Good Lord, look at Humphrey.
Humphrey! What have you been doing?
Keeping gold.
But why is your face so black?
I fell on it.
Oh, dear. Hadn't you better go and wash, darling?
I want my tea.
Will you promise to go and wash afterwards, won't you?
No.
Oh, dear.
And what is the new work you're going to play and sing for us, Owen?
Well, it's mainly a choral number, this one. It's about the moon.
Ah, yes, a good old subject.
Oh, sir?
Oh, well, I mean, there have been several great lyric effusions about the moon, you know.
But not since 1951, sir. And that was pretty dud.
I think you'll find that's right, sir.
I full of pieces about the moon for singing. I would like so always to sing from the moon. Have you been to Vienna, Mr. Shewin?
Not to Vienna, no, I'm sorry to say, Miss Strauss.
We've written 2 pieces about Vienna.
Ah, Vienna. Da-da-da-dee.
Elsa!
I shall go back.
And how about hearing this piece of yours, Mr. Shewin?
Oh, well, it's very kind of you, Miss Tablet. I do hope you'll like it.
Oh, come on, chaps, let's open the piano.
Right. Got your dot, Zoe? And we do hope you'll let us hear some of your own pieces, Miss Tablet. I adore music. I often feel I could almost write it if only I was able to play some sort of instrument.
Yes, a lot of people feel that way.
We've been practicing this one up for you, Miss Tablet.
That's the spirit. I hate under rehearsal. Don't I, Elsa?
No, sometimes we never eat. And, Humphrey, darling, you will keep quite quiet, won't you?
Some of the time.
Moonlight over Naples, moonlight all over that lovely bay. Quiet the noise of traffic, vanish the lovely day. But moonlight stealing everywhere, my dear, and trying to steal away.
God bless my soul.
Oh, moon, don't go. Oh, moon, just stay in place. Oh, moon, go slow. Don't slip off this beautiful face before me. just for a time, please linger here. Just for a time, don't disappear. Oh, moon, just stay.
Oh, moon, don't. Oh, moon, don't. Don't, moon. No, don't. Don't go away like that. Don't.
Just for a time, please linger here. Just for a time, don't disappear. Oh, moon, just stay in place.
Don't agonize me.
Oh, moon, don't go.
Don't go.
Oh, moon, just stay in place. Oh, moon, go slow.
Please.
Don't slip off this beautiful face before me.
Don't do that, please.
You are my chance of happiness. Please don't turn it into distress. Oh, moon, just stay.
5 minutes longer, 4 minutes, 3 minutes longer, 2 minutes, 1 minute.
Oh, moon, don't stay away like that. Oh, moon, just stay in place.
How does it go on?
Well, actually, that's the end.
Humphrey, darling, whatever is the matter? No, Humphrey, darling, don't. It didn't mean anything.
Oh, I say, Mother.
Humphrey's so sensitive, you know.
Clearly. Oh, cheer up, old cock.
Give him a piece of cake, why not?
I know just how he feels.
Well, it's a really frightfully interesting piece of music. One thing puzzled me. What exactly was he up to? The chap who's supposed to sing it, I mean.
Well, it's meant to be a sort of picture of a romantic sort of thing. Well, about...
Love. What? Love.
Oh, dear.
Oh, yes. I see.
With a lady.
Yes, that's the sort of thing.
Or, of course, with a gentleman, if the lady sings it.
Ah, yes.
I would love to sing it. I would like to take a copy away with me.
Oh, I say, that is nice of you, Miss Strauss.
Oh, shall we do it again? You could join in, Miss Strauss.
No, dear, please, not that one again, with Humphrey feeling so sensitive. And we ought to ask Miss Tablet.
Oh, yes, please, Miss Tablet. I do hope you'll oblige us with one of your own numbers.
Please, please, go on.
Well, yes, why not? Elsa.
One moment.
And you'll try to be very controlled, won't you, Humphrey?
Yes.
Hush, everybody.
We'll give him De Duque Mena Salana, Elsa, shall we?
Yes.
Perhaps I'd better explain that our own little number is also about the moon. The words are in Greek. They were written centuries ago by a great woman whose name I won't bother you with.
As if we didn't know.
The words mean, very briefly, the moon has said so of the Pleiades. It is midnight later, in fact. I'm off to bed by myself. Elsa, please put that bun down.
It is not a bun. It is a cake.
I don't care what it is. Put it down.
And to think I was born free.
My husband was British consul in Athens for a time.
De Duque Mena Salana, Kai Pleiades, Messa de Noctes Parader Ego de Monocateto.
Well, that's it.
Humphrey, what is it? Humphrey! Oh, dear, I'm so sorry. He's so highly strung, you know. Humphrey, dear.
On the road from throbbing Mulberry to Mulminster Perivale, where Hilda's old school was and is situated, there's an inn called the Meredith Arms. It was here that we paused for supper on our way to the school.
You're not drinking, Bertie. Why not? This is some of the best Burgundy I've ever tasted.
But do you think you ought to drink quite so much before speaking at the school, Hilda?
Ought? Of course I ought. I must. Why, my dear Bertie, I'm nervous. How could, I assure you, address a large audience at the Royal so-called College of Music with calm and equanimity? The thought of talking to me dear old school reduces me to a jelly. Let's order another bottle.
Well, Hilda, if you insist...
It's all very well for you, Herbert Reeve. You can be calm. You can be confident. You can relax there. Knowing you've won.
Won?
Yes. I give in, Bertie.
Give in over what, Hilda?
Very moved I was this afternoon, Bertie. Very moved. It was exactly what you'd said. The 2 generations made me feel quite old. Still, I saw why you took me there. In the end, I saw what you had in mind.
In mind?
What a brilliant conception.
What is?
I hope I'm worthy of it. God knows I hope that, Bertie.
Worthy of what, Hilda?
There was I, thinking of my life as a thing that could be dealt with by a couple of preliminary volumes here, a couple more there, one in the middle, one at the end, so on.
Of what are you thinking, Hilda?
You make me realize, oh, so very humbly, Bertie, that though I may be an artist, I'm also a woman. I see things on a small scale. It needed you, Bertie, a man, to see that the whole thing must be bigger than I could conceive. Needed you to see the whole thing must have epic scope. Epic scope, should have said.
Epic scope, Hilda?
I see now why you took me to throbbing. It was for guidance from the spirit of Richard Shewin, wasn't it?
Well, that was not quite what I had in mind.
Never mind, Bertie. You win. You shall have your 12 volumes.
Oh, 12?
But not more than 12, Bertie, I beg you. For the love of God, no more than that. It was enough for Gibbon, it was enough for Proust. Let be enough for you, Bertie.
It will be, Hilda.
I like you for saying that. Thank you. And I don't mind telling you, Bertie, what you've done today gives me courage for tonight. Now I can go forward and face these fine young jeunes filles en fleur at me old school. What they will hear from me tonight, Bertie, what you will hear too, is a statement of faith. And you've given me the courage to make it. I thought only Burgundy would see me through. But it's you, Bertie, not the Burgundy. Still, there'd be no harm in having another bottle, would there?
Girls, it is not my intention to occupy your time for very long this evening. You'll see enough of me during the daytime. This evening, it is Miss Tablet who claims our attention. Miss Tablet is that rare thing, a creative artist. Now, the works of a creative artist are not always easy for their first audiences to understand. It is for this reason that I have asked Miss Tablet kindly to cast her talk to us this evening in the form of a little illustrated lecture recital centering upon her own work. So here is Miss Hilda Tablet.
Thank you, girls. And thank you, Miss Welbeck. A little illustrated lecture recital. Such is my task this evening. And it is very kind of you all to come and listen to it. Jolly kind. And just what I would have expected from dear old Perivale, the only school from which I was never expelled. Now, girls, let us face one fact, all of us. We are, all of us, you, me, Miss Welbeck, and myself, all of the same sex. I mean that we are all of us as God made us, or most of us. And I think I can best illustrate this point best in what, after all, is a little illustrated lecture recital by taking the case of one of my own early works, my Opus 70. Large number for an early work, some of you may opine. But I must make it abundantly clear that while some of my opuses have no number because I've never numbered them, some of the actual opus numbers have little or no music attached to them at all. I shall turn to this point later. Now, the opening of my Opus 70 runs as follows. You don't mind if I just have a use of your piano, do you?
Oh, please, Miss Tablet, it's there for you.
What make is it?
A Glückheimer.
Oh, yeah. It always was, I remember. Well, girls, This is the opening of the little number I referred to. Now, girls, if you were asked for an opinion on that little piece, you would probably and justifiably describe it as a haunting little tune. Now, let me just show you what happens to it.
We shall always recall, and never without emotion, the faces of Hilda's eager young audience that night. It was a moving occasion, and doubly moving perhaps for ourselves. This was a statement of faith made by the great artist who was permitting us to devote years and years of our life. Years and years and years of our life. In fact, years and years and years.
But my point is this. Many years later, in fact only last year, you will find that simple little tune used in another work of mine. And it is part of the pith and marrow of this electrolyte of mine to explain how this has come about. The work I refer to is my recent quintet for 8 instruments. Now, my dear girls, 8 instruments may seem to you rather a lot of instruments for a quintet, and it is a lot, I freely grant you. But one of the most somber tragedies of the composer's life today is the extreme difficulty of getting anything performed. And the only conditions under which the Consolidated Instrumentalist Union would allow this quintet to be performed was if 8 performers were paid for. They didn't all play, of course. I beg you not to think that. 5 of them played. The other 3 sat around or collected cups of tea for those who were actually playing. In the recording of this work I shall now play for you, if you listen carefully, you will hear the chink of teacups quite distinctly. Now, will this be a gramophone, Miss Welbeck? Or is it just a school cocktail cabinet?
Years and years of our life we might happily devote to this work. We could work at it for years and years, not only this year and next, but other years. Years and years of them. How happy we felt at the thought of those years. Let us put it another way. We could devote year after year after year after year after year after year.
And before I conclude this lecture idle, there's one most significant episode in my life I'd like to tell you about. During the war, I had the interesting experience of flying in an aeroplane all across the USSR. What's that?
I think Miss Tablet would prefer us to reserve our applause to the end of her lecture recital, girls.
Yes, rather. Thank you, Mr. Welbeck. And thank you, girls. Yes, I flew right across the USSR. Now, the USSR at this time was, as I quickly realized, a country I was flying all the way across from the town of Brest-Litovsk on the left side to the town of Vladivostok on the right, all across the great frozen waste of that great frozen country, the USSR. Now, girls, my point is this. On our way back in the airplane, flying back all the way across the RSSU, it occurred to me that in a very real sense, we all of us make such journeys across these great frozen wastes, consciously or unconsciously, in an airplane or out of one, slowly or quickly, spiritually, clumsily or nimbly or dimly. And my point is this. Such an experience speaks volumes to us. Girls, it speaks volumes.
Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, Volume 4, Volume 5, Volume 6, Volume 7, Volume 8, Volume 9, Volume 10, Volume 11, Volume 12.
When all is said and done, the whole point of this little of mine is that you cannot, if you're open and honest, criticize adversely a basic tone roll. Compose your so-called melody, and the weekend journals will be taking the mickey out of it before your last note has died away. But even the music critics of the Observer and the Sunday Times cannot, with any very great confidence or certainty, sit on your basic tone roll, or at any rate, not both together. I want you girls, when you go from here tonight, to think over that point very carefully. Yes. Well, that's all. Thank you, girls. And thank you, Mrs. Welbeck, for so kindly listening to my rifle. Thank you.
What a moving occasion, as we watched the eager young faces surging round Hilda, pressing their eager young autograph books upon her. We recalled the beautiful lines, "Alas, that spring should vanish with the rose, and youth's sweet-scented manuscript should close." So it might. So indeed it would. Youth's sweet-scented manuscript would close. But we knew of another manuscript not likely to do so with such rapidity. Yes, no. We were very happy at this thought, very happy. Happy at the thought of a task that would occupy so many of our years, all of them probably. It made us happy. Happy, we felt. It was the thought of the years that made us happy, the years and the years of it. That thought had sustained us this evening. It would sustain us through many months in Hilda's company, through a long journey with her to Marrakesh, a further journey to Vienna, journeys to Mauset, journeys, right up to the great opening night of Hilda's opera, Emily Butter, when Hilda, wearing our own tails jacket, her baton raised, her fine figure silhouetted against the soft glow of the orchestra lights, hurled herself upon her greatest triumph. What a climax. It gave us a sense of great happiness. With the generosity of the creative artists the world over, Hilda had already made ourselves very, very happy, and we knew that at this very moment she was making others very happy too. Their happiness might not last so long as ours, but ours would last a very long time. For us there would be years, and years, and years of happiness. Yes, indeed.